With us tonight, Pulitzer Prize-winning presidential historian and author and biographer of Jefferson, Jackson, FDR, Churchill, and most recently Bush 41, Jon Meacham. Congressional reporter for The Washington Post, who's had a busy couple of days for herself, Kelsey Snell. And Jonathan Lemire has agreed to stay with us under threat. Thank you, all of you, for coming on. John, I saw what you said on social media last night about the president's speech to the Boy Scouts of America, and I realized you may think, for what happened there, a red meat political speech to 30,000 Boy Scouts might have been its own kind of low point for speech making and discourse.
Well, one hesitates to mark a low point, given the passage of time since, well, I guess for the next hour or so, because he may be in bed. But it's as Daniel Patrick Moynihan, another great senator, since we're talking about great senators tonight, once said, it defines deviancy down. Donald Trump is defining the presidency down. And I think one of the things that I found so fascinating about Senator McCain's speech today, which I think should be taught in schools, actually, is he talked about the most ancient, the most perennial of struggles in the country, which is that between passion and reason. It's the oldest dichotomy. It's what the framers were concerned about, and before them, the ancients. And right now, passion is winning. And I think that it's incumbent on all of us, whatever our particular views on particular issues, to try to reintroduce reason into the arena.
John, thanks for loving that speech so much. I feel the same. I heard hints of MacArthur in there, and while old soldiers never die, they only fade away. John McCain is a sailor with no plans for either dying or fade away.
Right. That's exactly right. And it's the kind of thing that we hope the Senate does. You know, Aaron Burr, who ended fairly poorly, but he once said that if a demagogue, that the last stand against a demagogue or a usurper would be on the floor of the United States Senate. And you saw some of that today.
Kelsey, we navigate toward some of the poetry in John McCain's speech today, a thoroughly emotional moment. But to the prose, he was a revolutionary, because he went onto the floor of the Senate and kind of discounted the underpinning argument for everything we've witnessed and said, can you imagine calling for open hearings in the actual Senate committee where such a thing should originate? That's not going to do well at all.
Well, he called for it, but then he voted to start debate on the bill and then voted for the First Amendment that came up. So there's a little bit of mixing of messaging that happened there. I think that he was speaking to his ideal version of what would have happened in the Senate. And I think that he was speaking to a greater cause for the Senate. I think one of the things that struck a lot of people was later on in the speech, he made the comment that the Senate is not subordinate to the president. It is their job to be a check on the president. And that was a very forceful statement that I heard people repeating over and over and over again, was wondering, you know, how he was going to follow through on that statement in his time in the Senate, and how that will manifest in his conversations with his colleagues, because it's not something that we've seen a lot of in the past 6 months.
And Jonathan, the way they're going about this now in the Senate means kind of minutia and increments for the remainder of the summer, maybe into the fall. Guess who's not into minutia and increments?
Are you suggesting that the president is not a patient man?
I only ask the questions.
This is going to be slow. Obviously, today was a win for the White House, what they wanted to see, and the Republicans. There's a motion to proceed. But this is going to take time. There are going to be many votes in many days going forward. And if this is slow, the president and his advisors have suggested they really want to get health care done first before they move on to other parts of their agenda. Tax reform is supposed to be next. If this is slow, does it bog that down? There's also this grand plan of infrastructure, which to this point the president and his team haven't really moved on at all. And there are still many people around there who have second-guessed that decision, that perhaps infrastructure should have been first. It's the one item on the agenda that could have drawn bipartisan support. It would have been very hard for Democrats to stand against a measure to repair crumbling bridges and decaying airports and so on, and the blue-collar base that so supported the president in many parts of this country in the election they would probably be in favor of it and put pressure on the Democratic lawmakers to go along with it.
Yeah, they work hard, good jobs, and we get new airports and then some as a result. We'll just pause the conversation here. When we come back, the broader topic of loyalty and this president when the 11th hour continues.
It's here, but it's going by fast. The opportunity of the year is back. The Mercedes-Benz Summer Event. Get to your dealer today for incredible once-a-season offers and start firing up those grills. Lease the E300 for $569 a month at your local Mercedes-Benz dealer. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
It's just a burst pipe. I can fix it.
No.
With Claim Rate Guard, your rates won't go up just because of a claim.
I totally could have.
No.
Switching to Allstate is worth it.
Have you ever looked for a hotel online? Well, Trivago does the work for you and instantly compares the prices of over 600,000 hotels from over 200 different websites. That's how you can be sure that you find the ideal hotel for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
I have asthma, one of many pieces in my life.
So when my asthma symptoms kept coming back on my long-term control medicine, I talked to my doctor and found a missing piece in my asthma treatment with Brio.
Once daily Brio prevents asthma symptoms. Brio's for adults with asthma not well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Brio won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Brio is specifically designed to open up airways to improve breathing for a full 24 hours. Brio contains a type of medicine that increases the risk of death from asthma problems and may increase the risk of hospitalization in children and adolescents. Brio is not for people whose asthma is well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Once your asthma is well controlled, your doctor will decide if you can stop Brio and prescribe a different asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Do not take Brio more than prescribed. See your doctor if your asthma does not improve or gets worse.
Ask your doctor if 24-hour Brio could be a missing piece for you.
See if you're eligible to pay no more than $10 a month.
I love you, couch. You give us comfort, and we give you bare feet, back sweat, and Gordo's. Everything. I love you, but sometimes you stink. New Febreze Fabric Refresher with Odor Clear technology cleans away odors like never before. Because the things you love the most can stink. And plug in Febreze to keep your whole room fresh for up to 45 days. Breathe happy with new Febreze.
Sold for $1.66 at about 98% off on DealDash.com. DealDash is the most exciting way to score brand name, brand new products at prices you won't believe. Professional stand mixers for under $6 and pressure cookers up to 85% off. Touchscreen laptops for less than $16 and HD TVs for 80% off or more. So stop paying retail. Go to DealDash.com right now.
As the Scout law says, a Scout is trustworthy, loyal. We could use some more loyalty, I will tell you that.
You know, loyalty is very important. At the bedrock of our politics will be a total allegiance to the United States of America. And through our loyalty to our country, we will rediscover our loyalty to each other.
Loyalty can be a wonderful thing.
Just a few examples of the times President Trump has invoked the importance he places on loyalty. And while it seems to be a quality he values a great deal, he is less steadfast when it comes to his own allegiances. During the election, Attorney General Jeff Sessions was one of the president's earliest and most vocal supporters. But as of late, he has fallen out of favor, spectacularly so, and has been the subject of some very public ridicule. We plan to talk about this subject of loyalty with our panel. They all remain with us. Jon Meacham, I have searched my memory for times when a sitting president has attacked his own cabinet member. Even if my memory came up with something, I don't have a Pulitzer, so it wouldn't matter. It would if you thought of it. Have you been able to think of any even rough parallel?
Certainly not in public, and really not that much in private, actually. Every commander-in-chief in the loneliness of the office wishes that the world recognized their particular genius better, and they wish that their subordinates were even better at what they did. But in this case, no. And I think it goes to the point that the president, by all accounts, sees the Russia investigation as an existential threat. And so, therefore, he'll use any means necessary to protect himself from this. The only thing that's the only sin, I think I'm right in all the tweets, the sin for which Sessions is being humiliated like this is basically following procedure and custom and recusing himself from the investigation.
Yes, he did what most lawyers will tell you he should have done. Kelsey, I know you always measure this. It's a moving target on the Hill where you work, but what are the grounds for separation among most Republicans and this president? Would it be something as now conceivable as the firing of Sessions, or would it be the firing of Mueller?
I think from all evidence that we've seen, it would be the firing of Mueller. I think that a lot of Republicans that my colleagues and I have spoken to, they see Sessions as a step towards Mueller, and they're very concerned and very wary. But I think that Mueller would be that final straw. I think it's interesting. If you talk to the most conservative members in the House particularly, they're some of the people who are coming to Sessions' defense in the most powerful way. We're even seeing people like the Freedom Caucus Chairman Mark Meadows and Mo Brooks, who's running to replace Sessions for his full term. They were some of the people who were coming out and saying that they were shocked to see this, that they were surprised that the president would throw Sessions essentially under the bus. And this was very concerning to them because they view Sessions as one of their own.
And Jonathan, we talked about this earlier. Sessions has some friends up there who would view this as a takedown.
Oh, no question. He has allies in the Senate. He has allies in the conservative media. And this is something that the president, it's remarkably how the public rebuke has been the last few days, from the tweets to his interview with the Wall Street Journal today to the Rose Garden press conference, calling, how disappointed he was in his own as Attorney General. But this has also been going on in private for quite some time. He's been musing aloud to allies about could I fire Jeff Sessions? He called one advisor over the weekend who he hadn't spoken to in a while, just out of the blue. What do you think would happen? Would conservatives be upset if I fired the Attorney General? The answer largely is yes. It doesn't mean he's not going to do it anyway. Although at this point, it's clear that he hopes that enough pressure would force Sessions to resign instead.
Jon Meacham, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, all of 30 seconds for the last word. Simple question. If you were a stone cutter in South Dakota, should you stay near a phone, since if the order comes in to add another head on the mountain?
Well, how would you do the hair, I think, is a critical question. And I don't know if I would have that level of skill. We all want this president to succeed, because if the president succeeds, the country succeeds, usually. Maybe we reached a point where those two things depart, but I don't think so. And so you just keep hoping against hope that things will get a little bit better. I'm reminded of what Churchill said, that you can always count on the Americans to do the right thing after we've exhausted every other possibility.
And you can always count on Jon Meacham to say the right thing in a moment like this. John, thank you so much, as we thank Kelsey, as we thank Jonathan. A terrific panel. Our final break, and when we come back, what lawmakers on the Hill sound like when they...